People sometimes think I'm a bit over the top about hygiene and why shouldn't they get mucky? And I actually say to them, do you know what? You really do. It's perfectly fine to get mucky. It's perfectly fine to get dirty hands. But what you need to think about is you don't want to be eating that dirt. You don't want to be rubbing the dirt in your eyes. So there's certain times when you actually need to have clean hands. So by all means, recognise the fact that there are bacteria everywhere and we can't get rid of them all. But make sure that at key times you actually have clean hands. There are key times when you really need to wash your hands, and particularly if you're just about to eat. So, for example, you don't want to be actually ingesting someone else's norovirus that you might have picked up on the tube. Equally, there are bacteria such as Campylobacter, and if you've been preparing raw chicken, you've got a 70% chance of having Campylobacter all over your fingers. The last thing you want to do is actually then go and make a sandwich and eat the Campylobacter that could make you really, really ill, sort of diarrhea. Within a couple of days, you could be very seriously ill. Wash your hands when you come into work, wash your hands when you come home, before you prepare food, but also wash your hands after you've prepared raw foods, and that includes chicken, meat, fish, and raw vegetables. Bacteria are absolutely everywhere, and probably 95% of them are perfectly fine. In fact, we actually need them just for normal survival. So there's no way that we can ever get a sterile environment except in an operating theatre, and we really wouldn't want to have anything like that in real life. So it's just a small percentage of microorganisms that can cause harm, and those are called pathogens, and those are the bad germs, if you like, that we actually want to knock out. We don't want to ingest those. We don't want to rub cold and flu virus into our eyes. We want to try and use our hand hygiene to keep us safe. From my own experience as a mum, I would say that one of the biggest tips I can give in terms of hand hygiene is when you get up in the morning, or it could be in the middle of the night if the child's waking you up, wash your hands first before actually dealing with your child. Make sure your hands are clean. We've all got responsibility for hygiene, not just for ourselves, to protect ourselves, but also to protect other people. The most awful thing in the world would be if you were carrying a microorganism that you didn't even know you were carrying, and because you didn't wash your hands, you could pass it on to someone else and you could actually kill them. So the responsibility really is there for us all to keep our hands clean at critical times and not to spread germs. I think people need to take responsibility in a work environment because studies have shown that around 50% of people don't wash their hands after going to the toilet in offices. And that basically means that when they come out of the toilet cubicle, they are spreading germs all around the office for other people to pick up. And really that's totally unacceptable. So I'd like to see people taking much more responsibility for their own hygiene, always washing their hands after going to the toilet. There's absolutely no excuse. In an office environment, you often get people sharing desks, so they might share computer equipment and telephones. And I think it's really important for people to bear in mind their responsibility to other people. So if you've got a cough or a cold, to use some wipes to actually wipe the workstation when you leave so that the next person isn't likely to pick up those things from the computer equipment. Well, washing hands should take around about 20 seconds. So the most important thing is to actually use some soap and get a lather going, because it's the rubbing action that actually helps to dislodge the dirt and the bacteria and viruses from your hands. And then rinsing under a tap means that they rinse the bacteria and viruses rinse away. Often people think that they don't need to wash their hands for very much time, and they'll just put them under the tap and hope that that will do, and it just won't. You actually need to put a bit of effort in, but not so much effort that it's too difficult to do. So you build a lather up with the soap. So the first thing to do is actually get your hands wet, just the same as if you're shampooing. You need to get your hair wet first. So you wet your hands, then put the soap on, and then rub between your palms. But then you need to remember the backs of your hands, the thumbs, in between the fingers. And then if you want to get your nails clean, you just do this sort of motion where you're actually rubbing your nails in the palm of your hands in the lather, and that helps to dislodge the bacteria from under your nails. And so that's more or less it. So it takes around 20 seconds. If you can't get hold of soap and water because you're out and about, then what I use is a hand gel, because that means that I can actually be sure that I've killed the bacteria and viruses on my hands. And then I can have a picnic, or if I'm out and say taking the children to a farm visit, then it's sort of belt and braces. I get them to wash their hands, but I'm also very conscious that from other surfaces around that might be dirty, they could be picking up bacteria and viruses, so I get them to use the hand gel as well. You want to make sure that you put the hand gel on all the surfaces that are likely to be infected, so particularly obviously on the palms, but on the back of your hands as well, and around your, in between your fingers on your thumbs. So a really good application, and let it dry and you're ready to go. Some people do get over obsessive about hygiene, and I'm really not interested in making people feel like that. What I want people to do is recognise the really key times that they need to wash their hands, and wash their hands properly at those points.
I think it's a very widely used term, and according to statistics, about 52% of people think they've got sensitive skin. In fact, often it's because someone's put something on their skin which they find very irritant, and it's, certain alcohol-based products might feel irritant when they put it on the skin. It doesn't mean you're necessarily sensitive, but certainly many of us have a propensity towards dry skin, so it's very important that they use very gentle products if you've got dry skin, because you want to keep the skin barrier intact and well moisturised. If products have a lot of alkaline soap in them or alcohol, these can be quite harsh and they can strip the skin barrier. So for example, a sensitive product, particularly for say antibacterial purposes, would not strip the skin barrier. So it would affect the bacterium so that it became bactericidal, but wouldn't actually affect the sort of layer on the skin which protects our skin barrier. Well, I really like the sensitive range from Cuticura because it has a special product in it which actually affects the bacterium but has no alcohol, it's fragrance free, and it will leave the skin barrier intact but will get rid of the bacteria. So it's fantastic if you want to protect yourself without stripping back the skin. If you're going to get very hot and you're going to the gym, etc., it's a good idea to wash, have showers, because that will remove any sort of bacterium or yeast that might be sitting on the skin. But often if we've been to the gym, we might be quite hot for several hours afterwards. And so it's quite old-fashioned, but using talcum powder is fantastic because it stops friction, it keeps the area nice and dry. And of course, bacterium and yeast, for example, love a nice, warm, damp environment. So it's a really good idea to apply it to the skin, and that stops the sort of development of such infections.